there are a lot of things in here that were taken out of the compromise bill that were good for the American people. And one of the things was dish payments, where you give money to hospitals that treat the least among us, the poorest people that need health care, and that was taken out of the bill. That's cruel, inhuman, and anti-Judeo-Christian. And that's one of the main reasons why I oppose this bill, because the hospitals that take care of those people are doing God's work, and they need to be given the monies they've been given in the past, a 1-year extension, and you took that out. That's wrong. I oppose the bill.
That was Steve Cohen pointing out that removing that funding, a relatively small amount of funding in the grand scheme of things, that benefits kids, benefits those with the least, to make sure that they can get medical care and all of that, that it seems wrong to take that out. Now, obviously, he was there talking about an earlier version of the bill that had been stopped. We now have the stopgap bill that was passed, and it wasn't put back in that. Of course not. Of course not. It doesn't benefit millionaires. It doesn't benefit billionaires. Why would it be in there? Everybody needs to wake up to what period of American politics we are entering into. There's not going to be any assistance. The government is not, arguably has never been, but certainly is not constituted in a form that's intended to help you. And with the wealthiest cabinet in history being assembled, with 2 billionaires, including the richest man in the world, being tasked with finding every piddly little thing that he can cut that doesn't benefit the elites of society, it's only gonna get worse from here. But I thought, why don't we talk a little bit more about some of the other things that were cut from that bill? So we have the Gabriella Miller Kids First Pediatric Research Program, gone. That's supposed to help kids who get cancer or whatever. That's obviously not a concern of these great Christians. Screw all of them, so that's gone. Let's see, there was a provision in the initial bill aimed at ensuring that states replenish food stamp funds for Americans who rely on the program whose benefits are stolen. So if you're supposed to get some food stamps and your benefits are stolen, they reimburse you. That's gone, screw you, you're on food stamps. Literally, like, it's insane that you would think that Elon Musk would care about you. He does not, neither does Donald Trump. Let's see, there were 2 bipartisan bills in the original version that aimed to crack down on so-called junk fees. I think one having to do with hotels, that's been cut. That's the sort of stuff that benefits regular people and hurts business. So obviously they got rid of that. They're not interested in that. I don't see a confirmation here, but I'm willing to just state it. I'll stake my reputation on. There was one designed to stop ISPs in rural areas from screwing over their customers, many of whom would be conservatives, of course. That had been cut from Plan B. I'm sure it was also cut from Plan C. And then also this doesn't even seem like a monetary thing. It is purely spiteful to take this out, but it jettisoned a bipartisan provision that would have criminalized the publication of non-consensual intimate images known as revenge porn, as well as sexual images and videos generated by artificial intelligence called deepfakes. I can't even tell you why they would want to remove that, except I don't know, maybe Elon Musk is a little bit worried about what Grok might spit out and he doesn't want Twitter to get in trouble. So anyway, that was cut out as well. That's not even a cost thing, that's just for fun, I suppose. And we'll learn more over the next day or two about what was cut out, but it's a ton of stuff that would benefit regular people rather than the elite class.
So Republicans say that they want to cut the government. And do they mean it? Yes, but who are we talking about? What Republicans? There's the Republican politicians and then there's the Republican voters. So do they both want to cut? Yes, but they want to cut different things. So the voters, if you show them one by one, you say, okay, look, here's the Pentagon, can't pass an audit. They don't know where $400 billion is. Should we give them another $400 billion and then they're gonna tell us next year, oh golly gee, I don't know where it went, right? Well, as at least I found out, all the right-wing shows, all the right-wing populists go, no, cut the Pentagon, right? And certainly the left-wing, so at least we used to agree. So that's a yes, right? Are the politicians gonna do it? Don't think that I'm naive. I think they are intensely unlikely to cut the Pentagon because that's the pork barrel stuff that they love, right? So then but I can give you a laundry list of like hundreds of things. Do you know that the oil companies still get $20 to $30 billion a year in subsidies? They're the most profitable companies in the world. What do they need our taxpayer dollars for? Okay, by the way, if you put Israel's $30 billion in funding per year on the table, do you think that passes if you went and asked Republican voters or all voters? I don't think it passes. So there's tons of stuff that you can cut, and that is what the voters are expecting. But the politicians don't want to cut any of that because that's their donors, right? So what do they go to cut? Children's hospitals. And then eventually they're going to cut Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security.
Cenk, super fast. That like pediatric cancer thing they cut, it's $190 million.
Exactly.
It's nothing.
So like, you know how many 190 million is in 30 billion in oil subsidies? A lot. Okay, it's a 5. So it's at least 150. Okay.
I'll ask Elon Musk.
But they're not going to cut the stuff that's corrupt because they are corrupt, right? So that's why they're going to nickel and dime kids with cancer. And what's going to happen when that happens? The American people are going to go, wait, what? You want to cut cancer research for kids? This is the big Republican populist revolution I was promised? Nah, I don't think so, right? So they're gonna run into a buzzsaw. Okay, part of it is gonna be the American people going, you're cutting the wrong things. But I am curious, and I don't know if they're gonna notice this. You also didn't cut the right things to cut, right? Mm-hmm. So let's see how that plays out, because right now they haven't cut a single thing that makes sense to cut. And they've cut a whole bunch of things that makes no sense to cut. David.
Well, I mean, look, there are military, there are components to the US military, parts, aircraft, tanks. There are factories in literally every single congressional district that contribute to the US military. So that's one of the reasons why it becomes so difficult to cut anything from the Pentagon, because there's going to be somebody who's going to say, no, wait a second, you can't cut this tank program because it employs 1,000 people in my district. You can go through every single part of the Pentagon budget and find at least a couple members of Congress who are going to say, no, I've got jobs there. You can't do that. So that's one reason why the Pentagon can't be cut. But I would also say that, I think your point, Cenk, about, cutting things that really sort of hurt people. And by the way, I think it's Steve Cohen in Tennessee that, there's some hospitals in his district that get some of this pediatric cancer research. There are some other members of Congress as well who have hospitals that get this sort of research, but it seems like this was sort of a personal swipe, particularly at Democrats. And I do think, Cenk, to your point, I think when Americans start seeing that, kids with cancer are going to be cut back, or people on Social Security are going to be told, no, you can't retire, you can't get your Social Security benefits now until right now it's 67, it's going to be 70 if the Republicans have their way, maybe the benefits are going to be cut back. I think that is the point at which there is something of a change, because people say, no, wait a second, I put my money into Social Security and Medicare. It's lifting tens of millions of Americans out of poverty. You can't suddenly tell me I'm not going to get my full Social Security benefits until a few more years afterwards. And oh, by the way, if you feel like you need to replenish the Social Security Trust Fund because it's insolvent or not going to be able to pay out full benefits, why don't you tax the rich some more? Instead of just taxing the first $167,000 of income, why don't you raise that to $500,000 so that people who make millions of dollars, they pay a larger percentage of their income towards the Social Security tax, as opposed to working class people right now. They pay a larger percentage right now than the wealthy. There's all sorts of different ways to solve this. And I think once America has this discussion, people are going to say, I don't want a bunch of billionaires telling me how much my elderly mother or grandmother should get each month in order to stay out of poverty.
Yeah. My concern is that, there was like raising, the retirement age and all that, like cutting they were talking about this during the Republican primary. Like they're not that scared, I guess, that this is gonna turn people off. It seems like it should. Almost every one of these cuts seem utterly insane. And it should be a reminder that when, a couple weeks ago, Elon Musk was talking about how all of their changes would involve temporary hardship, everyone needs to remember, he will never experience any of that temporary hardship, not even temporarily. Him and Donald Trump and all these other millionaires and billionaires, it is smooth sailing ahead for them. You're the ones that they're already previewing chaos and hardship for. But we should also remember, they're giving us these reminders every day of how fundamentally unpopular everything they do should be to regular people. But we can't forget that they also have defense mechanisms too. They know, as the Republicans have always known, that they can't actually run and win on their agenda. That's why they flood the zone with BS. And so they're not just gonna leave, a 3-month news cycle of them screwing over kids with leukemia or whatever, and then making it so your grandma's gonna freeze to death in her apartment. All of those things will happen, and they're fine to see them happen. But also there will be a caravan, and also something trans, and all of the identity politics BS that they constantly focus on, that's what Fox is gonna be talking about. Jesse Waters isn't doing 30 minutes on how kids with cancer are gonna be screwed over. He's not gonna acknowledge it at all. He's instead gonna talk about something that is gonna make you mad about race or religion or gender or masculinity or whatever, and I'm sure they're already rolling that out right now.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. We really appreciate it, guys. And we appreciate it if you become members, because that allows us to be independent, honest, progressive, all the things that you don't get from corporate media. And all of that is because of you guys. Hit the join button below and become one of us, become a young Turk.